Ringing me, hello, pumpkins and peasants.
No.
And welcome back to Krown's magical Happy Dad Cave.
Yeah, you're fired. Welcome back to the Krown Crypto channel. Wishing you a happy Healthy Start to Nice Friday morning over here from an island in a location unknown. Anyways, plenty to be speaking about today. I just wanted to follow up on the short-term timeframes and higher-term timeframes that we've been looking at for the past few days here. And then, of course, there is some major activity that could be confirmed as soon as today. I suspect that, being today kind of a holiday, probably not, but very likely next week, which is going to really drive the buy season, not just for the rest of this month in November, but also into December as well. Other than that, I wanted to give notice to the current promotion going on, as they are offering $30,000 in deposit bonus, which is kind of actually crazy, like 30,000, not 3,000, but 30,000 plus 0% on maker fees for both spot and derivative contracts, with the link in the description below. And then, of course, because there is a lot of animosity around surrounding exchanges right now due to the FTX situation, Bybit actually reached out to me, and they have assured me that one, they're good to go, but more importantly, and what really we should be asking for in an industry like this, is they're going to be providing proof of funds, and not just like a fucking screenshot, which is like, cool, man, thanks for showing me Photoshop, maybe. But they're actually going to be doing what's called Merkle tree analysis. So that will be, once it's out, hopefully that's ready as soon as possible, which I assume that it will be. That will be very comforting, at least as far as I imagine, you can kind of have in a space like this, in this wild, wild west. Anyways, without further ado, I think it's time to just jump right on into the charts. Let's start it off here with actually the short-term timeframes today. I was going to go over a little bit of Dixie analysis, but obviously we're seeing that come down as we were looking for it over the past couple weeks here, or the past like 3 to 4 weeks now, but it doesn't really play into the Bitcoin analysis because we are seeing bifurcation due to the overall situation with FTX, I suspect. Anyways, in the lower term timeframes for Bitcoin, we have a few things to be aware of. What are the ranges? Well, the range high would be about 18,200 on the short term timeframes, versus about 16,200 on the short term timeframe. So a rather large range, being that this is a rather volatile asset at this moment. And on the short term timeframes, like a 4-hour on CME, and by the way, these are relevant for CME, just to be 100% clear, we are starting to see a contraction phase on 4-hour BBWP. So this is a corrective move, more or less, which probably not what most people want to hear, but that would be the bias given the data as far as we're looking at as of right now. The only way that I really changed my mind is given the same criteria that we were looking at yesterday, with a daily closure or any sort of a higher term time frame closure above 18,500 or so. Bitcoin can reclaim that level. That's to the point where I say, hey, I wouldn't necessarily say like it's bull market on or anything like that, but it's just like we're back into the eternal range, expect more sideways, and Boolahs once again have a shot to pull on through here. And we probably do see a greater rally if that were to happen, back to the $20,000 level and beyond. But for right now, of course, as long as Bitcoin is below 18,500, that is to say bears are still in control here, and this is to be looked at as a corrective bounce with continuation implied to the prior low, with any sort of a closure on short-term timeframes below 16,200 again. That's kind of my line in sand. Until then, short-term range, again, on more or less a holiday. I believe it's Veterans Day today, so shout out to all the veterans. And then also I want to be looking at short-term time frame stochastic momentum, just see if it kind of aligns with that and see where the pivots are. So looking at the 12-hour, or starting off with the 12-hour, we see that it is actually going to have a chance to cross the upside. Again, likely on a corrective move here. If Bitcoin on CME can close above basically 17,000 bucks, and keep in mind that there's about a $400-$500 discount on CME versus spot price action right now. 6-hour time frame is going to actually be already up, as you would expect, as long as Bitcoin's above 15.6. Again, given the volatility reads right here, probably a corrective move. 4-hour time frame. Oh, what do you know? Another extreme on not on BBWP, but on volatility of stochastic momentum. Probably a corrective move. The pivot is currently at 15,800, and then the hourly is going to be showing downside momentum, actually, as long as Bitcoin's below 16,600, which right now it is above on CME. So what does this align with? A little bit of sideways action right here, fills out the range, and then we probably get resolution next week if I had to guess. Anyways, with that in mind, I wanted to now get into and follow up on the higher term timeframes, because that's where all the fun action is going on as of right now. So the chart over here that was kind of giving us a bias towards a very likely bounce at that $15,000 level or so was a 2-day time frame CME specific chart. And by the way, we're going to go over some new information as well today, so just bear with me here. On the 2-day time frame, what essentially is this signature? It is a volatility versus stochastic momentum signature, volatility represented by this moving metric that my cursor is currently on. That is, well, expanding from extreme lows, as you can see. And of course, anytime that we have seen this at extreme lows, which are defined as anything below this green horizontal bar, and then turn up from those extreme lows, especially getting back above that green horizontal bar, throughout the full history of CME, of which there are 10 prior iterations, this being the 11th, has led to an average move of 39.5%, over the course of 3.5 weeks, and the stochastic offset has been correct in getting the direction of that volatility expansion 8 out of 10 times, so 80%. Obviously, this time worked out yet again, so this is going to be now 9 out of 11 times, so that goes up to like, I think about, doing some bad mental math here, but maybe like 83%, somewhere around there. High probabilities essentially. And of course, we can start to put the puzzle piece together here, and we're going to take it even a step further, but given the average days at about 3.5 weeks, the signal really started to get going, I would say, early November. So we've already seen almost two full weeks of this. So coming into about the third week of November, a little bit more than that, I guess that would put us basically around Thanksgiving time. Perfect timing, right? Perfect timing. Then we probably do look for the totality of this particular move to play out. Again, just given the stats. And of course, what was giving us a bias of a balance at $15,000 was that Bitcoin had already hit the bottom end of the first standard deviation that we do expect given this data, which was 32%, which in this case, 32%, puts you, let me actually get this right, because like a small change when we actually plant these makes a humongous difference right now, just given the current price levels. It puts you about $15,000, and that is about where Bitcoin bounced from on CME, a little bit below there, about 14,925. So here's the thing: if we do see continuation, then we probably look towards the next, a little bit closer to the actual average at about 39.5%, as the next sort of area of interest for a potential major bouncy bounce. In this case, we've already experienced a pretty phenomenal bounce from low to high. About a 20% bounce, very, very massive, dare I say. Anyways, so what would essentially denote continuation? Well, continuation is, of course, a topic of conversation as long as the momentum pivot is still lived below, and as long as we're still within the overall average time, allotment here. So I'd say that it is still risk to the downside. And this is still showing a momentum pivot to the downside as long as Bitcoin's below 20,700. So that will be closing today at somewhere around 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. So barring about a, $4,000 rally, looks rather likely. With another week, a little bit over a week to go, given the data over here, to kind of meet that average. Again, there's going to be variance within that, but it does let us know that, hey, it's not necessarily relevant to be saying that this move is over just yet, statistically speaking. So going back into the short-term timeframes over here, where would I essentially be looking for that to be actionable? Well, of course, on the short-term timeframes, breaking below 16.2, that's at the point where I look for Bitcoin to retest around its current lows, mid-15s to low 15s, and then if you see a closure below basically 15, at that point, we can start to look towards the next, the next big number here, which is about 39.5%. So let's see where about that would put Bitcoin. Significantly lower, somewhere around mid to low $13,000 is where I'd be looking for, if and when that does happen. So that would be the next sort of area of interest. Anyways, the new information that I wanted to get into in this particular video, as I check the timing, we're about 8.5 minutes into this, is the 5-day chart. The 5-day chart is super interesting to me here because it is going to be closing today for spot price action, and it is building another major volatility versus momentum signal. Of which, let me just bring this over here. Come on, chart load. There we go. Okay, so a few things of interest. First and maybe not first and foremost, but first and interesting, I would say, is that on the 5-day time frame, as we had denoted earlier this week, hidden bearish divergence is more or less confirmed. Assuming this one closes today at 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. Sorry, now that we have daylight savings below 18,500. That is confirmed. Obviously, a good portion that's already played out. But that, coupled with extreme lows on 5-day BBWP representing volatility, does suggest that we are building, or Bitcoin, more accurately said, is building an even bigger signal, which is probably going to be resolved into the end of this year. So what essentially is the signal? Well, let me explain. Fuck me, I did the wrong chart. I done goofed yet again for the last time. Here we go. That's what I'm looking for. Get out of my face, sir. There we go. Okay, 5-day time frame. So it is a 5-day BBWP, which represents volatility versus stochastic momentum signature. And basically, anytime that 5-day BBWP gets to extreme lows, which are defined as anything below 15 percentile, this green horizontal bar right here, well, the average move born upon those from those extreme lows upon expansion has led to an average move of about 42.35%. So again, it's kind of in alignment with that CME 2-day signal, which kind of does make sense. These should be playing more or less hand in hand, but this would suggest that this can have even a little bit more on top of it as well, as small percentages do really matter here. So what is the pivot for today as far as the stochastic oscillator goes? Well, it should be known that the stochastic oscillator has been correct actually 100% of the time for the past 4 years. So not always, but for the past 4 years been 100% correct in getting the direction of the volatility expansion. And in this case, if Bitcoin closes below about 16,900 on spot price action, well, that pivot will be met. 5-day stochastic turns down, and with volatility, already starting to, trend back above the moving average with a positive slope, I'd say that this would be a, good time to actually see the signal start to populate. Of course, probably going to see it actually, fully confirm next week if it's going to confirm at all. But naturally speaking, it will at some point. And so the average days taken on this would be about 37 days. So that takes us into mid-end of December, basically. And the average move on this one, about 42.35%. So again, it would be a rather big one, obviously. But let's see, 42% would put Bitcoin somewhere around $12,000. So if you do start to see that confirmed, or Bitcoin essentially fail below that momentum pivot, then I'd say anywhere between about 13.2 to 12.5 or so is probably where I'd be looking for coming into the end of the year here. Again, if that were to happen. So I do think that that's probably a good place to be leaving off on a particular video like this. I hope that this was in some way helpful. I wanted to take, again, a second to wish you the best as always. And again, I know that this past week's been absolutely fucking crazy, man. I mean, again, I would have never guessed that FTX would have done this. I've looked at them as one of the most legitimate exchanges. So my heart goes out to anyone out there who was affected by this, of course. And, do be aware that, as else is in the background, again, that, at the end of the day, man, I know it's probably not too helpful right now and not too comforting right now, but it is just money. And if you did already, if you're having a lot of success and you just kind of got caught in the crossfire of this, understand that you have something that is invaluable, which is the actual skill. It's the skill of trading, which means that theoretically you should be able to do it again. I know it fucking sucks. I've been in similar situations myself, but I can assure you that if you keep your head down and you continue to do the winning actions, well, good things will likely come. So I think that does it for today. Wishing you the best as always. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully soon.